To a lot of people, especially outside the UK, this is what British history looks like. It's a genre of film and TV that us Brits have become very good at, and it's popular at home too. But there is a problem with this vision of British history. It's often almost entirely white.
What in heaven's name are you talking about?
You know, I've thought about this, and yeah, I think I'm rooting for the coronavirus.
Some of them have the occasional token appearance of a black or brown character, but others don't even bother with that.
Oh dear.
I mean, I thought that there was a long history of diversity in the UK, even before the Windrush era. But if that's true, then why are period dramas so white?
Oh, this week in Fuck Whites, we was aristocrats. You know, it's so tiring dealing with this rubbish day in, day out. Let's see, why are period dramas so white? Because Britain was so white. It was so white. I'm talking off the charts. It was like Marshmallow Island up in this bitch. Take the late 18th century, for example, where the novel Pride and Prejudice is set, and the number of Britons sits at about 6.5 million. Best estimates put roughly 10,000 non-whites amongst that lot, equating to a staggering 0.15% of the overall population. Now, this means that if we want to televise Pride and Prejudice and at the same time accurately reflect the makeup of the nation during that period, whites are going to be playing precisely 99.85% of the characters, and I round up to the nearest whole number. God, I love math.
Ew, why?
Because it's the same in every country.
It's beautiful.
When they are writing the 6 names down on a piece of paper as possibles, you've got to be one of them.
This is Julian Fellows. He's the creator and writer of Downton Abbey. He also co-wrote Gosford Park and Vanity Fair, and he has said that he's in favour of increased diversity in casting, but not when it comes to period dramas.
Uh-oh, a dissenter. Julian, include us in your dramas, Julian. I don't want to. It wouldn't be right. You weren't here. But we've always been here.
You liar!
Kill him!
According to Lord Fellows, historical drama puts you in a different territory because you can't make something untruthful. Fellows has since backtracked on these comments, but it still raises an important question. How truthful are period dramas really when it comes to racial diversity? Okay.
Oh my god, is this guy seriously trying to pass for black? I mean, maybe it's just the lighting, but from here he looks about as white as a polar bear's spunk.
Let's take Victorian Britain, for instance. Oliver Twist. Yeah, that's pretty white. Sense and Sensibility, same. Black Beauty.
Jesus, black as ebony.
Oh, for goodness sake, the horse is named Black Beauty, and what's wrong with that? I mean, I guarantee you that if Anna Sewell had called it White Wonder or something, he'd be sat there like, see, even the horses are fucking white. You cannot win with these people.
Shadowfax is the lord of all horses.
Oh, sure, put the white horse in charge. Nice one, Tolkien. You fucking Nazi.
Is the absence of any black or brown faces a truthful depiction of Victorian society?
It wouldn't be uncommon to see black people in London, in Liverpool, in Cardiff, in Bristol, as workers. People working the docks, people be carpenters, seafarers, West Africans, Somalis, those from the Caribbean and so on. It also wouldn't be that unusual to see people probably as students, people coming and studying to be doctors, to be lawyers. You know, almost any occupation you can think of other than probably politician.
Or landowner, which, let's not forget, is what period drama tends to focus on, not barrel rollers on the docks of Merseyside. I don't remember Jane Austen writing about that. And you can count on one hand the black gentry of any given period. The two famous ones are Sarah Forbes and Elizabeth Bell, both of whom have had films made about them. It's not like we're trying to hide this stuff, but don't confuse the exception with the rule. It makes zero historical sense to start flooding the halls of 19th century Windsor with the cast of Black Panther.
I mean, Dickens talks himself about going to Liverpool and going to a pub where there's mainly black people and so on. So the evidence is there, but history is presented in such a way that it kind of obscures these things.
So hang on, let me get this straight. History obscures the fact that Dickens met some black blokes in a pub once. That's not history, my man. That's barely trivia. I mean, that's taught me nothing, that. I've learnt nothing from that. I mean, but look, if you want to produce a 10-part series detailing the adventures of Dickens, the great pub crawl of 1850, go for it, man. We'll let the box office decide.
If you were around in the mid-19th century, you might have come across bare-knuckle boxers Peter Jackson, Bill Richmond or Tom Molyneux. Molyneux in particular fought all over England. Or maybe even PC John Kent. He worked in Carlisle from 1837. And then there's S.J. Celestine Edwards. He was the first black editor of a newspaper or magazine in the UK. And of course we have to mention Sarah Forbes Bonetta, who was the goddaughter of Queen Victoria.
Well, I have mentioned her. We know about her. She was in the television series Victoria, as she should have been, because she was a real person. And again, some of the people you listed, look, I don't want this video to in any way represent some sort of opposition to the idea of telling those stories. In fact, I'd be up for that. Why not make a film about Peter Jackson or Bill Richmond? I'd watch it. I'm a huge fight fan, done boxing all my life. Tell that story. Great, I'll buy a ticket. It sounds interesting, and it makes sense to tell it. But that doesn't mean it makes sense to have Elizabeth Bennet engaged to Mandingo. That doesn't make sense. That's just fucking stupid. Right? Tell new stories. You know what this reminds me of? That Bill Burr joke. You know, where he gets all frustrated because women, in this case, seem determined to ruin the NFL for men. And what's he like? He says, like, build your own stuff, right? No one's stopping you.
They're slowly going to take it over, and they're going to move us out. Because I'm telling you, I don't understand why they keep trying to go into a male football league. It's like, why don't you guys band together and start your own league? Get your own thing going. But I realize they don't want their own thing. They don't want their own shit. They want our shit. I don't know what it is. And I think it's because we're happy. We're just sitting there enjoying ourselves, having a good time without them. It drives them nuts, and they just got to go in there and ruin it.
So Victorian Britain was definitely a racially diverse place. But let's take it back further, to the Georgian era.
There were significant numbers of black people here in the 18th century, probably 15,000 people maybe in London alone. Effectively, slavery existed in Britain. You have quite large numbers of people coming to the country from North America who had fought with Britain in the Revolutionary War. So yeah, there are significant numbers of people here.
Significant? Look, all I can say is we differ greatly on our definition of that word, my friend. I mean, I do not consider less than 1% of the population to be significant. Okay, that is a drop in the ocean. That warrants, at best, token representation that you've already conceded you have.
Some of them have the occasional token appearance of a black or brown character.
So, what's the complaint here? Do you want more than you should have? If so, how much more? Do you want to be 25% of the cast, 50%, 100%? I mean, get specific. Throw me a bone here.
These guys here, these guys, it's always the same. It's always more.
But let's keep going back. Surely Tudor England was completely white. I mean, look at the Tudors TV show. Nope. This is John Blank, resident trumpeter of both Henry VII and Henry VIII. Catherine of Aragon was known to have brought a group of her African attendants with her from Spain, and King James I also had many black Moors at his court. So that's about 500 years of black British history.
I know all about it, and if you haven't read Miranda Kaufman's book Black Tudors, I recommend it. It's very accessible and interesting. She focuses on 10 people who lived during the Tudor period, and that is a sample taken from, at most, by her estimation, 400 non-white individuals living on British soil at that time, out of a population of 5 million. Do you need me to do the percentage calculation on that for you? I mean, again, it doesn't mean these people weren't here. It doesn't mean they didn't lead interesting lives. It doesn't mean they didn't integrate. In fact, one of the central messages of Kaufman's book is just how well these people were treated, actually, by the British establishment, especially the church, who allowed them to marry, who baptized them, all the rest of it. I mean, but stop trying to pretend that black Britons were at the centre of British life in centuries past. I mean, that's no more true than the idea that white people were at the centre of the Tang dynasty.
About 2,000 years ago. Yep, Roman England was racially diverse too. So if historical accuracy isn't the problem, then why do period dramas get whitewashed?
Let me guess. Racismus. Racism. White supremacy. Dun 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 dun. Oh my god, it's the whites fucking whites. We was kangs, fuck the whites fucking whites.
At this point, we need to look hard at the industry itself.
Fucking called it.
Win an Emmy for roles that are simply not there.
Getting cast in a film or TV show in the UK is by no means an easy feat as a black actor. British Film Institute research found that 59% of UK films from 2006 to 2016 had no black actors in any role. And for period dramas, it's 80%.
So black people show up in 41% of British films? Wow, that seems fishy to me. I mean, it's not like blacks are 41% of the population or anywhere close. And 20% of period dramas. Again, there is some serious affirmative actioning going on there. I mean, what a fuss about nothing. I mean, if I cared about race as much as this guy, I'd be counting my lucky stars at how well I'm doing in Britain. It actually makes me angry. But you've probably noticed that. But seriously though, wouldn't it be nice, wouldn't it be refreshing if we had a guy come out here and be like, you know what, I've looked at the figures, the film industry is clearly bending over backwards to accommodate non-white talent, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. That makes me feel great. That makes me feel at home. I mean, wouldn't that make a change of pace? I won't hold my breath though. I mean, gratitude from these people. I've got more chance of fucking Emilia Clarke.
Sir Barristan, if it comes to battle, kill that one first.
And the type of films that do cast black actors, they tend to revolve around the same old stereotypes. Crime, civil rights, biopic, slavery, or Africa.
Everybody's typecast, mate. I mean, do you ever think... When was the last time Ray Winstone was asked to play Billy Elliot? And do you truly want to have the conversation with me about why it is that black actors get asked to play criminals? Do you really want to go there?
We're all having fun. I'll just open this can of whoop-ass. pop that there.
Out of the 1,172 films assessed by the BFI, the films with a black leading performance only account for 157. There's even examples of white actors getting cast in black roles.
Oh, and that never happens in reverse. Dude, Dev Patel just played David Copperfield. I assume you're up in arms about that. No? So let me be clear. If Idris Elba plays James Bond, that's progress. But if Scarlett Johansson plays that anime thing, fuck whites, is it? That's racism? The irony of all this is I don't even care. Look, I tend to think that if anyone of any race wants to play a fictional or historical character for that matter, go for it. It might look a bit silly, but hey, there are worse things. But you're the one talking about black roles, and by implication, white roles. You're the one trying, and failing, to make the case for historical accuracy and that having the final say over casting. And look, if you want to make that case, I'm here for you, buddy. I can go all night.
So what's going on here? Why aren't black actors getting cast?
They are, all the time.
Films and TV shows and making decisions about who gets cast, in the main, are not people of colour. So the kinds of stories that go into production, more often than not, don't feature people who look like me at the centre of those narratives. Unless they're particularly thinking about diversity amongst the cast, they just go to their default setting, which is to cast a white person in that role. It's very destructive. You know, we're not part of the conversation when we're talking about cinema, and therefore we don't have an equal voice in terms of representation. It should be kind of multifaceted, multi-stranded, and for so long it hasn't been.
And now we're into just a general whine about the fact that whites outnumber blacks in a white country. Do you sense the insecurity in these people? I cannot imagine moving to Shanghai, as I have done, and saying, right, the important thing here is that everybody's a different race to me. I'm white and they're Asian, and that means white people need 50% of the stuff. Right? They need equal representation, and if we don't get it, that's destructive. I mean, that's fucking insane to me.
This has led to a talent drain, with most of our best actors looking to the US for opportunities. And when there is less representation in TV and film, this has a far-reaching impact beyond the screen. If we do not see ourselves reflected in popular culture, it engenders a feeling of alienation, that these are not made for us and that we have no place in this story. And in the context of historical drama, that means we have no place in British history.
This is utter guff, right? I mean, you are represented, you do have a part, we've been through the figures, I'm not repeating myself. Look, if I take you seriously, and I'm inclined not to, actually, I think this could well be a cynical ploy, a power struggle, a shakedown, right? But if I'm wrong, then you should seriously think about getting some therapy. Because you are clearly uncomfortable with who you are, where you are, and who you're surrounded by. And you may care to leave. And that's not a threat, right? I'm not telling you to do anything, but that might genuinely be the best treatment in your case, because as a great man once said,
newsflash to the entire world, there's more white people now than ever before in human history, and that ain't changing. We're white, we're here, get used to it.
So that's clear. Yes? Great. Here endeth the lesson. Ugh. You can piss off now.
Show's over, motherfuckers.